and we should be live.
Ready?
I think so. You ready?
Have you ever felt like deep down you're not quite good enough? Even though you may be achieving amazing things. Maybe you've hit a big goal and instead of celebrating, your first thought is, wow, I totally faked my way through that. Or they're going to figure me out eventually. Does this resonate with you? If so, you're likely suffering from what they call imposter syndrome. And you're not alone. You ever experienced that?
Only every day.
Oh, goodness. Whew. Yeah, same here. What you doing? What are you doing?
I don't know. Let's see. I hit rewind a little bit.
You want to talk a little bit about your experience with that?
I mean, every question you said, it says, I like to think of it. I know we've mentioned humility on some of our evening lives, but I like to think it's humility. But in a lot of ways, it's definitely this imposter syndrome. This idea that, well, somebody's going to figure it out, that I'm not all that I pretend to be, all that I act like. I'm not as good as I think I am, or that they think I am, might be the better way to say it. So it's definitely something that comes up often. I feel like I'm a fraud. Like I'm just, well, they think this about me. Or on the other side, I tend to probably on the other side feel like, and I don't know if anybody watching feels the same way, is like, now I have this person I'm supposed to be, that people expect me to be, that people think I am, and so I have to live up to that, and I always feel like I'm falling short.
Yeah, society wants us to play certain roles at certain times, and it can often feel like you're not, playing the role of your authentic self when you're in those roles. And this is common. This is a common thing with high performing people because they have high expectations on themselves. Typically, fairly intelligent. They have the ability to see a lot of things, potential negative outcomes, you know, uh, and focus on those because throughout history, it's been beneficial not to make the wrong decision out in the wild, right? And then the animals eat you, for instance, and stuff like that. So
That would be a terrible outcome.
yeah. So being able to play through the potential consequences or outcomes of situations has actually been a very good skill to have. But
There's a downside.
yeah, when you're not in the jungle, I mean, it's a concrete jungle.
It is a jungle out there.
Yeah, the problem with it is it can cause you to doubt yourself, to downplay your successes, to seek perfectionism. And the problem with that for business owners specifically is it can keep you from, maybe making that hire that you need to make, that, doing that critical task that you need to do because you're trying to get it perfect, make the perfect decision, do the perfect execution of whatever task you need to do instead of just doing it. There's a quote that I like that says, I told you this the other day, I heard it. So imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. And that's not to justify, subpar work or anything like that. But at some point, over analysis of a situation and optimization can actually work against you to keep you from making, headway because you're trying to avoid failure so much, and you don't do the things you need to do. Actually, action, I read, is one of the greater ways to counter this imposter syndrome is actually just taking action, strategic wise action, maybe, or action that's in your favor. Uh, I mean, if you can handle the risk of the loss of the negative outcome, take some wild action sometime. I mean, it's just the problem is sitting in your own head. I've experienced this. Um, Also, downplaying your successes, right? Did we talk about that?
We did not yet.
Yeah. So you can say, oh well, that was luck. I did that thing, but that was because of some other reason besides my skills or my preparation and determination and all that. What else you got to say about it?
Well, we have started this and given you a good preview of what's to come in this live session. So, hi, friends, anyone joining us here today or in the future. Thanks for joining us. This is our first YC Live Midday Reset. And so here we're going to give you permission to take a short break with us, reset your mindset, and focus on building your amazing business with confidence and clarity. That's what we're aiming to do here. And so we're going to break down this idea of an imposter syndrome. We've already talked a little bit about it. What it is at its core is the persistent inability to believe that your success is deserved or legitimately achieved as a result of your own efforts or skills. You doubt what you have, you doubt your accomplishments, you have this fear of being exposed, this fear of failure, of being seen as a fraud, of disappointing people, and
or yourself.
You're right. You're right.
This can be from.
And Kevin, you've mentioned a couple of the ways that it shows up, and that's this idea of it needing to be perfect, right? This perfectionism,
like that even exists.
as if right in our minds. Yeah, and I know we've talked a lot about as we've gone on this adventure of starting a business. Like we can analyze it and overanalyze it. Guilty of reviewing and overviewing and reviewing and rethinking and all that.
We talked about that 80-20%.
Yeah.
What Pareto rule?
I think so. Yeah.
Pareto rule in a previous video.
There's the rule.
If you just take that concept and have you heard that related to if you get something to around 80% of what your perfect product or whatever the situation is, 80% of your idea of perfection, you just go ahead and ship it. You can iterate later, or it's kind of like a minimum viable product.
Yeah.
And that goes with, I think it goes for a lot of things in business. You could sit and waste so much time and cause yourself so much stress overanalyzing something that you could go ahead and get out into the world, an idea or a service or product. And hey, you can make changes, and that's life, right? It's art. And that's the beauty of it. It's constantly in motion. It's the idea that I think in society. So with school, we were taught, your answer is right or wrong. You with me?
I'm with you.
Your answer was right or wrong. You did a good job. Well, why did you do a good job? Because you thought outside the box and you made some mistakes and you can't. No, you did a good job if you didn't make any mistakes, right? That's the Prussian system. That's the education. And that has really affected our mindset. And I'm not saying that's the only thing, but boy, it was huge. I mean, how many years did we spend in school,
Yeah.
And I'm not talking down school entirely. There's a whole lot of things you gain from it. But in this respect, boy, are our mindsets messed up in some ways, huh? So,
well, and that's a really good point you make. We start to see success as we meet other people's expectations,
Mhm.
or it's perfect. It's, you know, an A+. And so as a
Yeah,
business
John is the
owner,
good. He's just the best. Well, why is he the best? Because he has a 4.0. He's the best.
Hmm.
Well, Johnny's probably going to make a very good employee for Steven, who has a 1.8 GPA. Well, it's just how it is these days,
it is.
because Steven fails forward and Steven ships at 80%, and
That's
and
right.
he's not inside the box. Now, look, we need all kinds of people, but if you're wanting to be the business owner, if you're wanting to do something different, if you're doing something different, well, congratulations. And just realize that perfectionism is really not your friend, to the extent that it causes inaction, over analysis paralysis.
Mm.
You know that,
Mm-hmm.
wanting to capture all these good ideas and just put them together in the neatest package. I hear you, some of y'all, yes, that's a good thing to an extent, but you got to be able to stop yourself and say, let's get this out to the world. Let's make this decision. We can come back and revisit it when we get some feedback. You want to keep telling them some
Yeah,
stuff,
no,
Donna?
absolutely. And so, yeah, so that's one of the ways it shows up, is this idea of perfectionism. I need to live up to a particular standard that someone set for me. And until it does, you can get trapped in that analysis paralysis. You can't make the decisions, or you delay decisions that are important, that will
Mhm.
move your business forward. And so in that way, it is a dangerous, or an area where business owners and leaders their business can suffer because of that. So another way is you can undermine your own success. You mentioned that. And you
Without even
could
thinking about it, huh?
that's right, you could start to downplay. You could downplay your success. You can attribute your wins to, it was lucky, good timing, other external factors, and instead of your hard work. And you can also find yourself with a crippling fear of failure. And then that kind of goes hand in hand with this idea of a fear of success. If I'm successful in this, then that means more work.
So, yeah.
This is probably where I find, not only do I not want to fail at something, is I know if I succeed at it, that it becomes my job, and it becomes like, what's that going to come with that?
When you're in an organization where that is the outcome of success, is you're expected more responsibility and energy based upon your positive performance. That's like a negative. It's a negative outcome.
And
to that.
even with this business, like, I'm not going to lie and say that there's not times where I think we have clients. I need now, not only do I need to not fail myself, I can't fail them. Right.
Yeah.
And so if we do, as we succeed in the business, it does mean, a greater workload. But not even just that, but it means the pressure of succeeding for other people and not disappointing them.
And I've talked to you before. We've talked about this before.
It's true.
You cannot put the weight of other people's success entirely and squarely upon your shoulders. Especially, that's like trying to be their hero. That's like, you need to take the place of the guide in their story, right? The one who comes along and helps, in every superhero or movie theater, Star Wars and all these great movies, there's always and it's true in life, there's a guide. If you're trying to be their hero to make their business, successful, without, first of all, here's what you're attracting: people that have a victim mindset, right? People that want to be saved instead of people that want to be guided with wisdom and an objective perspective, right? And what you're stealing from them, and I'm not beating you up about this, but but the thing is, what we'd be stealing from them is that satisfaction that they accomplished, the success. So if and there's a whole nother thing about tying our value to, someone else's success or failure, or even tying your value, and this is a deep one, to your success or failure. What is success or failure? Does somebody else know what success looks like for you? I would suppose they don't. So that's also something to consider. It's very subjective. We're all individuals on different journeys at different times. Well, we're here at the same time, right? But unless you're watching later, but we're at different points in our journeys, is what I'm trying to say, and our journeys look different. So be careful about that thief of comparison. Also, in the social media landscape of today, everything, well, is everything on social media? I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, you know, people are given these snapshots of the better parts of their life, the most perfect parts, and then we come along with how we feel today, inadequate, not perfect, fearing the failure, fearing being, found out as a fraud, or just insecure, whatever trauma we have. And we come along and we compare our worst days possibly to the picture of somebody's best days on the outside. We're comparing our worst day possibly to somebody else's possibly best experience. Now, do you see any problem with that? Do you see how that could go wrong? So
Yeah, absolutely. Now that does take us to this next idea. Let's see. Um, you mentioned here.
we wrote some notes.
Yeah. Like I was going to skip ahead in our notes. So you mentioned that. So the moment of truth. I think I've already admitted. Do you think you have imposter syndrome at times, Kevin? I've already admitted that I do, and I'm sure many of our listeners do as well.
I guess I'm diseased in a way. I'm working through
It's a syndrome. What's my scientist? What's the definition of a syndrome? Is it a disease?
Syndrome? Oh, come on. Now I'm not.
I'm gonna.
Webster's Merriam here. I mean, you can look that up. I mean, I just
Well, so
probably
so the
I could
moment
probably
of
pull
truth.
something out of here, but come on, you can go look that. They got these phones.
All
and
right.
stuff.
Yeah, it's in your pocket, huh?
Yeah.
So in the comments, let's get a little bit of feedback from our.
I would imagine it's probably the state of not being in proper balance with your with your environment internally or externally. I don't see what I mean. You put me on the spot, and I come up with something that's probably totally messed up.
No, look,
I have that imposter syndrome about that question.
If Webster doesn't have that definition, they do now. So moment of truth. We have both admitted to, on occasion, suffering from this particular syndrome, and so
I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. In music, one of my greatest joys. I've learned every performance is. So here's what a great musician told me. I didn't intend on talking about this at all. It's off the cuff. Somebody I was working with, you're only as good as your last performance. And that's kind of weird, and that's kind of disheartening. So I guess you need to make sure you record your best performances, right? But it's like, it goes back to the school system example a while ago. And also look at the Olympics, okay? So you have two people. Well, you have a lot of people competing usually, but just take two or three. Take three, the three that end up on the podium, right? The silver medalists, the bronze, and the gold. So these people, it might take them a minute? It might take them 10 minutes. If it's a marathon, maybe a couple of hours to do their competition that day. At most, a couple of hours. That's the events that last the longest in the Olympics. Sometimes a few seconds. A sprinter. Okay, I'm going somewhere with this, right? You see a tip of the iceberg. Now, do you think you could calculate? You could, if they told you how many hours, how many cumulative days or weeks or years they have prepared for those 10 seconds, whatever it is. Okay. And not to mention, consider this. We're all human. They're human. So how can you take those 10 seconds and assume that is an accurate representation of their performance over the course of years? Well, it's not. It's not really. It's a crap shoot, really, because they could have torn something that previous day, the nutrition, something could have happened, with their sleep, any number of things, metallic sickness, illness. So there's a whole lot of, in life, we've just got to prepare and take action and leave the rest up to the Lord. And we just aren't completely, entirely in control of the outcome. A farmer can plant, and Jim Rohn, one of my favorite guys to listen to, Jim Rohn, you should listen to some of him. He died in the 80s or something, the 90s. Anyways, he's no longer with us, but he said, a farmer can plant. He can go out and do everything right. He can, do everything exactly the same as he did the year he got a bumper crop, for instance. And it's some of Kevin's wording here, but it's not entirely up to him. If the drought comes and his family doesn't eat, is it because he didn't prepare? Well, no. It's like, it rains on the just and the unjust in a way. So it's, but he did his part. He did all he could. But if he didn't plant, and if he didn't do all the things he was supposed to do as the farmer, and it wasn't a drought, and it was sufficient rain and perfect conditions, he wouldn't have had a chance to even reap the harvest because he didn't prepare, right? So it doesn't take away our responsibility just because, there's a chance that it won't work anyways, or, talking about imposter syndrome, looking at the negatives. When you know that you're supposed to do something, try to detach from the outcome, because, and especially as a consultant, if you're in that business, a coach or consultant, especially coaching, you need to detach from the best outcomes that your clients can have, and you need to detach from the worst outcomes that your clients can have. You need to do your part, be the guide, provide the support, the resources that you are convicted to provide, the reason that you're doing what you're doing, right? But if you are so invested in the outcome, so what we were talking about earlier, if you're so invested in their outcome, what can happen is when they're successful one day, or they have a good day, you celebrating so much, you're so invested emotionally that, that seems like that's not a bad thing. And you should, there's a time and place for celebrating wins, of course, and that actually helps with this, keeping perspective of your successes and not being so down on yourself about your perceived inadequacies. But what about the days when they need the support, when they're down? Are you going down with them emotionally because they're having a bad time? Or can you be that when they're up here or they're down here? It's kind of the challenge with parenting too. You do want to be support, you want to be encouraging, you want to celebrate wins, but if you can't ride the emotional roller coaster with them, because it seems fun up here, everything's a party. But if they going down, then you need to be able to help provide that support and that guidance that's needed. So does that help?
It does. It does. So we're giving you a little peek into our musings. We had intended for these midday resets to be
short.
just like our evening lives are supposed to be short. We have notes for about 10 minutes, and then we get to discussing.
But what do I say?
What do you say?
They don't have to watch.
Okay,
right?
that's
we
true.
want you to,
that's
but you don't
true.
have to. So we're not holding you hostage.
And we love to have y'all along for the ride. Let's make sure that we haven't missed any comments. Yes, it's all good. So we've shared our moments of truth. So if you are watching and you say, yes, I'm guilty of some of the things you've already mentioned, this idea of imposter syndrome. So if you resonate with any of these ideas, give us, just type yes in the comments or give us a reaction, an emoji. And the questions are, do you often feel like your success is just a fluke? Do you tend to downplay your achievements when complimented? Do you worry deep down that people are going to find out you're not as good as they think you are?
we're not endorsing boasting, are we? Or being
Now,
a
now
sore
you know how
winner.
we feel about humility.
But yeah,
It is a competition, but one of the most insidious ways that imposter syndrome manifests is in leaders and entrepreneurs is through self-sabotage. That's really what it comes down to. It's not just about this idea of waiting for perfectionism, waiting for it to be perfect before you do anything.
you know
And
what's
that's
another
part of it.
you know what's another thing that is this ties into that we've had people mention before, friends that are business owners, about wearing all the hats. Now, you say, how would that tie in? Well,
Yeah,
if you feel like you're
connected.
the only one, maybe you feel like you're the only one, or you're so
Mm,
invested in having everything at 100%, you're the only one
yeah,
that can do this, or you may be dealing with what we're talking about today, having to keep that control, being scared to call out things in your business that are familiar, right? Things that are familiar,
delegate,
to
automate.
delegate, to
Mm,
eliminate things that are
mm.
that bottom, well, that bottom 80% of things that aren't producing the, contributing to the bottom line of your business. You got to remember there was a time when you started your business that you were that you had all these, you went in, right? You threw caution to the wind, you did the thing, and then somewhere along the way, we either get comfortable or,
Comfort, absolutely.
yeah, there's a comfort sometimes in the tasks.
Hmm.
Like, if
Hmm.
there's that, if you're doing
Hmm.
enough, but all, being busy and being productive are two different things, right?
Yeah.
So just find out what is actually contributing to your well-being, your life, your business. Do more of the things that work, and delegate. If you have clients that can do certain things like cleaning up after themselves, or, you know, taking care of, it's putting responsibilities on your clients or customers that they can handle, or to, if you're fortunate and have some good team members,
Sure.
proper delegation, not being scared. If they can do something 70-80% as good as you can, and it frees you up to do something more visionary, or I don't mean a higher level
Profitable. Sure.
thing because I'm comparing somebody's worth to somebody else. That's not what I mean by that. But something that you are specifically equipped to do in your business, make that delegation. I mean, they're going to improve. They might even excel better than you could have done the task. Okay, at that thing that's not pushing the business forward financially, or in the direction of your branding, or your marketing, or if you need to be the face of your business. There's so many situations. I don't want to give you all of everything I got in my head, because then you don't want to call us, right? But no, but seriously though, this is a big deal. Mindset is a huge, huge thing in life.
Yes, yes, and it does. It plays into your business as well.
Oh,
Well,
well, that's what I mean.
since we've
It's
already
critical.
so we're going on about 30 minutes now. I think we did want to touch on one more topic, and that was this idea. We've already given some action items, some ideas for how to overcome this, and you mentioned about action and just do it. That's steal that from Nike for a minute. But one more thing we did note that we wanted to talk about was this idea of comparison, and that it is a thief. Comparison can be a thief. So, especially in our highly connected world, it's really easy to get caught up in comparing yourself to other people and other businesses. A lot of times we get into this trap of comparing our behind the scenes struggles with someone else's highlight reel, because that's really all we see is what they show. Things on social media, it can really amplify this feeling that everyone else has it figured out. Everyone else is doing better. They're getting farther. They're not having to work as hard as me. But the truth is here what Kevin's already mentioned. And do you want to take this part?
No,
This
you're doing
okay.
great.
Kevin's already referenced this. Is that the truth is? I'm speaking this truth to myself as well. Your journey is your journey. Focus on your lane. When you're constantly looking over your shoulder or at other people's social media pages, we can lose sight of our own path. You can lose sight of your own path.
Have you seen videos of those runners that almost to the finish line and either started gloating or taunting or looked over their shoulder and then
lost at the very end of the race?
Yeah.
So
terrible.
Right, if we're constantly looking over our shoulders,
mind your business.
We can lose sight. Stay in your own lane. We can lose sight of our own path and our own progress. So there is a great illustration that Kevin told me about from this gentleman, Seth Godin. He mentioned him earlier.
If you're in business and you don't know about Seth Godin,
and we might not be pronouncing his name correctly. Is that right?
Yeah,
Godin.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so there was one.
I'm familiar with Seth Godin.
You know, he knows him well. First name basis.
We should have coffee.
So he references this idea of a lifeguard, right? And he called it the lifeguard hack. And so he had written this on a blog post. It also referenced it in one of his books. And so I'm just going to read this off, what he calls the lifeguard hack. Who am I to walk up to someone at a party and introduce myself? Who are you to start a new project? Who are they to give a talk on the main stage? Don't raise your hand. Someone else might have a better question. Don't ship that work. It's not ready. There are endless excuses, comparisons, and reasons to hold back. Unless you're on lifeguard duty and someone is drowning. In that situation, even if you're not the best lifeguard in the world, and even if the water isn't the perfect temperature, and even if you don't quite remember how to do the latest version of that cross chest carry, you jump in the water because it's not for you, it's for them. And it's about our focus. So let's think about that for a second. You can't effectively lead your team, build your business, innovate, truly serve your clients if you're constantly drowning in self-doubt, comparison, and the fear of not being good enough. We need to be strong, stable, and confident in your own abilities to truly make an impact. Your business, your team, and your sanity depend on you being lifeguard, even if you aren't the best lifeguard in the world. You're the one that's there, and people need what you have to offer. So, Kevin, how do we become that lifeguard? How do we overcome imposter syndrome? And so you mentioned one of them, which is just about taking action. Do something.
Take the focus off yourself. And I don't mean take the focus off yourself to compare yourself to somebody else, because that could be easy to do. Yes, the focus is off of me, but it's on all the things that everyone around me is doing or having or succeeding at. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about find a need, something you can do for someone else. I truly believe that's one of the best. That's one of the best things. Seeing. So there's a few pillars in our business that I'm trying to articulate. One being excellent character. Being the same person that people see in front of the screen and behind the screen. Working on clarity through numbers, and that's really where we like to focus, because the numbers aren't going to lie. I mean, and that's the reason you can stay in business, is if your numbers are good. There's so much below the surface, but if you're looking at the numbers, if that gives you a good chance to analyze the situation. That's just how it works, right? With this financial business thing.
Yeah, and that's you can focus on the facts. That's one of the other ways, right? You look at the numbers; those are facts. Those are truth, right?
That's
data. Right. That's not just a feeling. Like I feel like I had a bad day in sales or anything. Yeah, it could be indigestion, but you focus on the facts. Yes. Okay. Continue.
Yeah. Well, so character, clarity, confidence. Yes. That's one thing that we definitely are trying to endorse here today and focus on. Compassion. Compassion is what I wanted to get at in this situation right here. Yes, have some compassion in your communication and your inquiring what your customers need. Find a need. Get off the you know, if I'm a lifeguard, my stroke's not perfect, and get onto the whole, if I'm a lifeguard and someone needs me, I'm jumping in and going to try to help, you know,
because it's them, right?
it's them.
It's for them.
Not about, it's really not about us. And if it was just about us, I don't think we would have done this live, because, you know, we get all those feelings too that people get before they do something vulnerable that makes them vulnerable, you know, outside of your comfort zone. So do know that we understand a lot of what you're going through, and we'd like to be there to help. We're looking to work with 3 business owners over the next month. You want to tell them how to touch base with us if they're...
Absolutely. You can send a direct message. Absolutely. Send a direct message to Tiffany Woods, Kevin Woods, and let us know that you're interested. You can also check us out on Facebook for Your Consulting LLC or yourconsultingllc.com for more information about how to contact us. We can share with you a link to our calendar to contact us for a discovery call. And you can also comment the word call in the comments on this video, or any of our videos for that matter, and we will send you that link to our calendar. So
and it won't cost you anything. This, what we're doing right now is
discovery, right?
Discovery, finding that, trying to be empathetic and figure out what is needed in the market and in our social surroundings of Facebook and YouTube right now.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think that's about it. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Kevin?
Oh my goodness, we can't just sit on here all day.
I mean, my goodness, we just invited our wonderful friends and family into our business meetings. This is a typical business meeting for us, and so we thank y'all for joining us. Thank you so much for listening in. If you were able to take a short break and join us, I do think in the future we had a little bit of time today that we wanted to share, and there's so much to discuss on this particular topic, and I'm sure it'll come up in future videos as well. And so we just hope that this conversation has given you some clarity and encouragement. And so if you enjoyed this or found it entertaining or helpful, feel free to share this video, to reach out to us and let us know. And make sure that you're following Your Consulting LLC for more tips and insights for all our entrepreneurs and small business owner friends, and really anybody just in life, if you're dealing with this imposter syndrome as you are leading in whatever field that is. And so we do appreciate y'all joining us again for this video. We'll be back with another live next week, I do believe. Okay, we're going to give you all the weekend. And
let's shoot for Monday. We're going to announce it on here too.
Absolutely. We're going to aim for another midday live, midday reset.
So we're not doing night. Just watch. Yeah, just watch.
Okay.
We're going to put it out. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, y'all follow for the update and announcement.
Our schedule's kind of right now with our other work schedules, so we're working on that.
Absolutely. So now we appreciate you, and whenever you can join us and follow along, listen in. Even if you skip around, I understand, but we do appreciate your feedback. And if you know of any friends who might be encouraged by or helped by this video or any of our previous videos, please point them in our direction and share the video, send them towards us, and we'll be happy to talk with them about whatever it is that they might find helpful.
And each one of these chats is just scratching the surface. Like with the example earlier about the Olympic athletes, we're picking topics that should be relevant to business owners, things that you can relate to. And we're trying to see what gives the most feedback, what people are interested in, hurting and struggling in. So we know where to focus more of our efforts. And we want to just encourage you to keep going, keep your eyes out in the right direction, not to compare, but to see needs. To look where problems can be solved. Be bold, be resolved. Like Myron says, create, connect, contribute, right? Create, connect, contribute. But see you on the next YC Live.
See you on the
Love
next
y'all.
one.
We'll try to get clicked out this time.